should understand that as business leaders. And lastly, I would say that our veterans deserve and need a hand up, but don't need a hand out. And so we ought to think in those terms. Now, you're in for a special treat. You have an exceptional panel this afternoon. I'll introduce them first to Sandra Watson, who brings more than 20 years of economic development leadership experience to Arizona. During her tenure with the Arizona Department of Commerce and now Arizona Commerce Authority, Ms. Watson has served in multiple positions with increasing responsibilities and results. Sandra Watson. Joining us also is Debbie Johnson. Debbie has spent over 2 decades working in the tourism industry in Arizona. She was appointed by our governor, Doug Ducey, as the director of the Arizona Office of Tourism in August of 2015 to oversee the state's tourism marketing strategy. Debbie Johnson, ladies and gentlemen. We're also joined by Glenn Hammer, who has been the president and chief executive officer of the Arizona Chamber of Commerce and Industry since 2006. He has overseen the organization's development into one of the most respected pro-business public policy entities in the state, notching significant wins in tax policy, regulatory reform, health care, and tort reform that have greatly enhanced Arizona's economic competitiveness. Glenn Hammer. Next is Deborah Ostreicher. Deborah's been with Sky Harbor since 1966 and was appointed Assistant Aviation Director in 2015. In this role, she oversees the air service development, government relations, technology, planning, environmental, and public relations departments. Deborah Ostreicher. And finally, Gonzalo de Mayena serves as the president of Arizona Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and operator of the Phoenix Minority Business Development Agency, the state's leading advocate representing more than 150,000 minority business enterprises. Ladies and gentlemen, Gonzalo. So thank you to our panel's members for your time this afternoon, for your expertise, for your leadership here in Arizona. And we have some really hard questions for you that we hope you can answer. The first one being, from a business perspective, why Arizona?
Do you want me to start?
Yes, ma'am.
So before I start, I'd like to say thank you so much for your service. It's an honor to be here today to talk to you about business in Arizona. So why Arizona? Arizona is just an amazing place. For those of you who live here, know how amazing this place really is to live. But it's just as amazing to set up and start a business. I have the great pleasure of working for Governor Ducey, who is an incredible leader who cares very, very deeply about the residents of Arizona, but also about the economy. So I get, as I said, the great pleasure to work with him day in, day out on advancing opportunities for individuals in our state. So why Arizona from a business standpoint? Arizona has an incredibly favorable business climate. So when you look at our taxes and our regulatory environment, we are second to none in the country. When you think about states like California and Washington and other states, we hear consistently from businesses that it is easy to set up an operation in Arizona, it's easy to operate an operation in Arizona, and it's easy to expand. So from a regulatory standpoint, the governor's focus has been removing barriers for businesses. So he announced earlier this year a elimination of 500 regulations. So that is currently underway, and we are on track by the end of this calendar year to actually eliminate 500 regulations due to his leadership. In addition, we've got extremely low taxes, and as you think about sort of where we were back in the 90s and where we are today, just a substantial reduction in taxes year after year after year. So we've got just an incredible trend of continuing to lower the tax burden for businesses in our state. We currently have about 46,000 veteran-owned businesses in our state. So I think that also speaks volumes to how easy it is to set up an operation in our state. Those veteran businesses have received over the course of 5 years up to 23,000 federal contracts, which totals about $1.7 billion. So what you'll find here in Arizona is that you have a very a friendly environment, an environment that's very conducive to expanding your operations. We, in addition, obviously from a regulatory standpoint, I think it's important to note that our talent base is incredibly strong. And so as you talked about ASU and the importance of our university, ASU has been ranked the #1 university for innovation 3 years in a row, beating out MIT and Stanford. So we've got an excellent university system in our state. In addition, we've got an excellent community college system, one of the largest community college systems in the country. So from a talent standpoint, you can definitely source the right talent in our state, and it's a great place to attract people to. So we have a net immigration that's very, very high, leading the nation for net immigration into Arizona. So from a talent standpoint, from a tax and regulatory standpoint, it's just a great place to do business. And I'd love to have a conversation with you if you are considering setting up an operation here, and we can certainly walk you through some of the services we provide.
Thank you. Debbie, why Arizona?
Well, why not Arizona, I would say. But before I start, I do want to say thank you to all of you. My father was a veteran, was in the service for most of my childhood and my high school life, so I've lived that life, and I'm just so grateful. Anytime I get the opportunity to do anything with the Veterans Group, I'm so grateful. So thank you to all of you for that. And I really would say, why not Arizona? Last year we had 43 million people visit Arizona because of what a wonderful place it is. We've all chosen to live here because of the great place that it is. And I think when you look at that, it tells us why we're here and why you want to work here and create a business. And Governor Ducey says it all the time, that he wants Arizona to be the best place to live, work, play, and visit, and we take that very seriously. So with those 43 million visitors every year, it's an economic impact of $21 billion. And with all those visitors, you have to have employees. So in the tourism industry, there's over 184,000 direct tourism-related jobs just in Arizona, and that's an incredible number. And they have over $6 billion in earnings that they make through the tourism industry. And I hear a lot of people ask questions about the industry, and I think one of the best things that we talk about with tourism is that we are in all 15 counties. So regardless of where you live in Arizona, you can get a tourism job in Arizona, and that's really a great thing for all of us. I think one of the things that we look for in employees and people who want to start at whatever level employment you want to work in, if you have a passion for Arizona, you have a passion for tourism in Arizona, and there's so many opportunities, whether it be lodging or restaurant or attractions, a tour guide. The opportunities are really endless. And you know, we'll talk a little bit more about those jobs and what they mean, but tourism is big business in Arizona, and it's something that I think we all get to love and do every day, and would love to have you be a part of it.
Well, I'd like to first echo the comments of my colleagues and thank our veterans for their service to this country. I'm humbled to have the chance to be here this afternoon, and I also want to thank my good friend AP Powell for bringing this national conference to Arizona. And AP is a force of nature and has done a great job of bringing the community together for very, very important events. One of the things Sandra and Debbie did a great job of talking about some of the reasons, and the statistics are quite incredible, but I'll add a few additional things. One is that this is about the most welcoming place in the country, if not the world. You could come from anywhere in the country, or you could come from out of the country. And like for example, I'm out of the country. I come from New York originally. And be welcomed with open arms and have a chance to participate in this community in a leadership type role. I'll also say that we have a very unique governor in Governor Doug Ducey. He has really made it a mission of his time in office to modernize our laws and our policies to take into account where we are right now as a country. I did this many, many years ago when I worked on Capitol Hill for Senator Kyle, and the internet was coming up, and the first time I heard internet, I thought it had something to do with tennis. It didn't. But we worked very hard in making sure that our laws kept pace with technology. And you take a look at what this governor has done. He's done a lot in terms of ride sharing, easiest state in the country to use Uber. and some other things. But one thing that I wanted to point out that's directly related to the topic at hand is that this past session he signed landmark legislation, which I believe is probably best in the country, in terms of making sure that the skills that our veterans are learning in the military are as easy as possible in terms of transferred to any sort of regulations or work requirements that we have in industry. This was actually something at the Chamber we worked on several years ago, and through the governor's leadership and Representative Maria Sims in the state legislature, that legislation was expanded to really cover occupations across the field, so that, again, skills that you're learning in the military are accounted for and considered after you leave military service, you're working in different occupations. So my final point is that this is an easy state to change the meter. So if there's some things out there that we need to do to make life easier and to make it easier to integrate our veterans into the workforce, contact us. We will make those changes. We will listen, and we will work with the legislature, work with the governor, and make those changes so that we can get our veterans integrated into our businesses. And again, just thank you for your service to this country.
Well, as a proud Navy mom, I'd like to say, go Navy. And thank you all for your service as well, especially this week, but we think of our veterans all year long. Why Arizona? Because it's the only place that has America's friendliest airport. So that makes it easy. And it's the only place that has AP on the Aviation Advisory Board. So that's why Arizona, I would say, number one. And AP, you're a large part of why it's America's friendliest airport. So thank you for your volunteer service on our Aviation Advisory Board. And this group of five, boy, if I was to pick a dinner party, the five of us don't ever get together like this. So thank you for arranging that for us. As far as why would you want to come to work or do business with Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport? And I think the answer, again, in addition to it being America's friendliest, would be because of the amount of opportunity that exists in the airport, and for all of the reasons that my colleagues talked about here in Arizona. When you think about what it takes to service one of the largest airports in the country, can you imagine how many people come through one of the largest airports in the country every day? It's over 100,000 people a day, just the passengers. And another 100,000 people a day picking up, dropping off, working. We have 55,000 jobs at the airport. And when you think about airport jobs and work, you think about shops and restaurants or pilots and sky caps. But really, we've got creators and engineers and scientists and people who do things you wouldn't even imagine happen at an airport. So when you're thinking about a career in aviation, that could really mean anything, especially at an airport like we have here at Phoenix Sky Harbor.
Thanks.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us, and it's a pleasure to be here today, and happy early Veterans Day, and thank you all for your leadership, and thanks to the committee that brought HeroZona here and bringing light to this really important sector of our economy. Why Arizona? I would add, in addition to what has already been said, is it's a growing diverse economy. And that diversity, my sense, is going to make it competitive over the long term. We're coming off at the Chamber and the Minority Business Center our 6th year of hosting our Business Diversity Summit, where we recognize women and minority business enterprises in the state of Arizona for their contribution to the economy, to job creation. And what's unique about Arizona is that 98% of all jobs are created by small businesses. So unlike a Chicago or a Dallas, we have a high index of small business and job creation. And women and minority-owned businesses are driving a lot of that growth. And we were excited to announce last Friday that in the diversity mix, we're adding V's in front of that. So veteran-owned businesses in conjunction with women and minority-owned businesses, and really helping evolve the narrative about diversity and inclusion as a business imperative for our companies, for our leadership. Arizona is on path to become a minority majority, third of our state, 42% of our city, and 51% of K through 12 are people of color. And that has implications in how we go to market, implications of how we lead, how we govern, and how we unlock our full potential as a marketplace to be competitive in the global arena. In addition to diversity and inclusion, I would say our geographic location and proximity to our great trade partner, Mexico to the south, is also unique and exciting. It accounts for almost about 40% of our exports for Arizona, and also, as Debbie mentioned, the huge tourism number. It accounts as 2/3 of the international visitors come from our colleagues and friends to the south. So diversity and inclusion, our geographic location, I think makes Arizona unique and special and interesting growth market for the future. So we're excited to be part of that and know that the Chamber and the Minority Business Center are helping include veteran-owned businesses in more of the access to contracts, capital, and ultimately job creation. So thank you for including us.
Great answers. In this next round, I'd like a little more enthusiasm and passion. Y'all aren't fired up about this great state at all, so I really want you to give it your best. And the next question I have for you is, from your perspective, what are the reasons for businesses in Arizona to include veterans in their workforce? You talked about why Arizona, why our state's so important, but as we look at a business, why would it be important for a business to include a veteran in their workforce?
Sure, I'll start. So the Arizona Commerce Authority is the state's economic development organization. So we attract businesses to the state. We work with existing businesses to expand their operations, and we also work with individuals to create new businesses. What we have found is that as we attract new industry to the state of Arizona, we work with some pretty amazing companies who have all said that they would like to have veterans. They would like to hire veterans. And so the strong, obviously, work ethic and the transferability of the amazing skills that veterans actually have, it's important to employers. And so we have companies like ADP and Comcast and Lucid Motors and EPS and SRP and a whole host of companies in the aerospace and defense industry, which is we have a strong concentration of A&D companies in our state. We're considered one of the top 3 markets for aerospace and defense. So we hear time and time again from our employers that they would like to hire veterans. So it's absolutely an area in which they'd like to really focus their attraction efforts from an employee recruitment. So we're here, obviously, to work on behalf of businesses, but we want to make sure that they are interacting with the various groups throughout the state that are in connection or working with veteran groups. So the installations that we have in our state and other areas, making sure that we're making those connections. But we hear just a strong interest from our employers to hire veterans.
Well, I just have a couple things to add to that. I think there were 2 things that Sandra said that are so critical from veteran standpoint. You guys have unique skills, great skills that you've demonstrated throughout your years, however many years of service you've given to our country, that people want to take advantage of and need to take advantage of, and the tourism industry is no exception. And I think the other thing that really holds true with every veteran out there is the work ethic and the passion behind that work. And that's what the tourism industry is always looking for, is people who have a good work ethic, willing to work hard, are passionate, believe in what they do. That's why we have the number of visitors we have. That's why we have this destination that we get to call home. is because of that. In the tourism industry, there's a couple of those. So in the lodging, for instance, Starwood and Marriott, Hilton, for instance, they have some specific programs for veterans because they want to hire veterans. They're willing to train them in different departments. They're willing to cross-train them. There are so many unique skill opportunities in the tourism industry that I think taking advantage of that is such an important piece. And the other thing that I really love about tourism and makes it so great for veterans is that there are opportunities at every skill level. So there are some people who just want, that basic entry-level job, and there's others who really want a second career. And you can take advantage of anything in between that. Tourism is a great place to start at the beginning and work your way up. Over half of the general managers and department managers at the hotels and resorts around the country started in an entry-level job in the industry, moved up very quickly, got to get a great level of experience. So I think for veterans, there's so much opportunity depending on what you want to do in the tourism industry.
And I forgot to mention, the weather's pretty good here too. It's cold, a lot of other places. In addition to the harder skills, and one of the reasons the legislature and the governor pushed to change our law to take into account the different skills obtained in the military. Before the program, I had a chance to talk to the general for a little bit. I mean, we need to remember, our military personnel are using state-of-the-art technology. I mean, they're ahead of the curve when it comes to a lot of the different areas that are relevant to the private sector. And what I was also trying to get to culturally is Arizona is not just a welcoming place, but because of outstanding companies like APS, they do so much day in, day out to welcome veterans into their operations. That's part of the culture of this state. But there's also another area. There's hard skills and there's soft skills. One of the things, I had the great opportunity to participate in a prestigious civilian military program last year, and I got to visit with members of all the different service branches of this country, and got to interact with from generals to enlisted personnel. And what I came across that just hit me between the eyes is how everyone that I interacted with has the best, would get A++ on anything related to soft skills. Being courteous, working as a team, being on time. I learned, they made it very clear, because I come from New York time, you can't be 5 minutes late because the plane will take off. All of those types of skills are very, very important to any employer. And it stands out today because not every person who's in the workforce has that work ethic. So on the employer side, it's a huge benefit when you're able to, when you have the great opportunity to hire a veteran.
At the City of Phoenix Aviation Department, I did a few calculations in preparation for coming over here and learned that we've exceeded 10% of our workforce are veterans. I'd love to see that be even higher because of the diversity of experience that veterans have. And as I mentioned, it's anything. We have everybody there in our small or medium-sized city within the walls of the airport, scientists, engineers, accountants, and the list goes on. And what I find most attractive about veterans is the ability to multitask, because that is something that we need to do in our fast-paced, high-pressure environment at the airport. And what I know about a veteran is willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done, and we really need that at Sky Harbor.
Great. Just to build on some of the other great points that have already been said, I'll just kind of refer back to the entrepreneurial ecosystem that's created in Arizona and the opportunity for veteran-owned businesses to thrive here. In addition to the resilience and the can-do attitude, I would just add a lot of the veterans that have overseas assignments, it builds a global mindset, right? And global mindset is a trait in cultural communication and skills and adaptability that allows them to successfully navigate through unique situations. And so in an environment that's highly entrepreneurial, my sense is that veterans are thriving. It's a growth market again. And so opportunity to really connect those dots and leverage the resources that are up here on the stage and out of the marketplace to drive more successful veteran-owned businesses.
Thanks. Sandra, could you comment, or would you please comment on the Skills Bridge program and tell the audience what that program's all about?
Absolutely. So the Skills Bridge program is a unique program here in Arizona that was led by Colonel Wanda Wright, who was speaking earlier. And I just want to thank her for her leadership in implementing a program like this. It's a partnership between the Arizona Department of Veterans Services, the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, and the Arizona Coalition of Military Families, along with the U.S. Department of Defense. And basically, that program works very closely with the 5 military installations that we have here in Arizona. And so if you are a service member in one of those installations and you are approaching your 6-month release, they'll allow you to be released early within 6 months of your release date to work closely with an employer who is willing to partner with the installation and with the individual to create a mentorship program, an apprenticeship program, or an internship program. So a very, very important program to transition from the work at the installation into the private sector. So it's an exciting new program. Again, I'd like to thank Wanda for her, Colonel Wright for her leadership, and it's a very unique program for Arizona, and we're excited that it is now being implemented and there are members taking advantage of this program.
Thank you. You know, if your business would want a soldier, sailor, airman, Marine who is currently stationed in Arizona to spend 6 months with you in that program, paid for by the military, for you to groom to join your team, what a great program to expand your workforce, expand the talent inside your workforce, and also to help that veteran to see if your organization fit. Many business leaders say to me that they spend the time in marketing, advertising, HR, recruiting, interviewing to get a veteran in, but then the veteran leaves. So they've made that investment as a business to be inclusive of the veteran, but the veteran walks out and they don't get any real return on investment. So part of Skills Bridge is to see if the fit is right at no cost to you. So please talk to Wanda, please talk to Sandra about this further. Debbie, tourism, wide open field. Entrepreneurialism, small business startup, adding independent operators to help the tourism industry. Would you talk about that a little bit from your perspective?
Absolutely, and I think that's, you just said, it's a wide open field, and that's the beauty of it. People think of hospitality as hotels and resorts, and that's certainly a piece of it, but there's so much more to it. I was in an event last night for Rainbow Riders, which is a hot air balloon company. Now you think a hot air balloon company, how much business can it have? They flew over 100,000 people last year, took them in hot air balloon trips. They're growing in Arizona, and they're starting to do more here based in Arizona because of the beauty of our destination, because of the number of people that visit Arizona. And it's a gentleman and his wife who've owned this business for 35 years and have grown it from New Mexico to Arizona. They want to start a balloon festival. They're one of the key people in the Albuquerque Balloon Festival. So that's an example of a small business. You know, another one that I always think of, if you've ever heard of Bearizona. Bearizona is a animal attraction that's up north in Williams, Arizona, and this gentleman from South Dakota came in, and really he has the same type of a company up in South Dakota, and he really felt like he could do something in Arizona because we're a year-round destination. And so he created this wildlife kind of attraction where people of all ages, I took my children and I had way more fun than they did. I mean, they loved it, but I loved it more because you get to see it's not a zoo. You really get to see the bears and all these different types of animals that are out in the wild because you drive through there. And then you get to interact with the baby bears and things like that. So he is a huge part of the tourism industry. And again, it's not something that people think of, but he makes his living through tourism as a small business owner. And they see Arizona as a great opportunity for growth because of the lifestyle that we offer. And these people want to move here because of that. And so we only see our growth continuing in tourism, and we need more people who believe in tourism and believe in what we have here in Arizona to become a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you. Glenn, maybe you would expand on why Arizona, from the business perspective, why Arizona is the right environment to start a business or to grow a business, and then flipping that, why is it a place that a service member would want to stay and join business? This is your world. I mean, how would you assess that?
Well, in terms of the wanting to stay, that's easy. I mean, this is the greatest state to live in. We've got the best airport. The day-to-day living is super easy. As someone who comes from, I really believe it takes years off your life to come from the East Coast or the Midwest and to have a chance to wake up and live and enjoy Arizona's climate day in, day out, and just good people. I mean, it's I remember, in all seriousness, coming from New York when I was going to the most innovative university in the country, ASU. I was shocked by how nice people were. I was trying to figure out what was going on, and that's really the culture here. In terms of on the business side, we're a top 5 state when it comes to aerospace and defense. We have all the major companies located here. The subs are here, so the culture is here. We've got the great bases all around the state. So in terms of active military and jobs related to the military, we're a top 5 state. And we're all about opportunity. We're all about growth. Well, here's some statistics on Arizona that I think are pretty neat. We're the 14th largest state now. We just passed Massachusetts. We're north of 7 million people. Phoenix is the 5th largest city. We right now are in the county in the United States of America that is the fastest growing county in the United States. People want to move here. So this is a very friendly environment for our veterans. We have a strong military culture and industry. And finally, I think you always want to go where the hockey puck is going, and people continue to move here, so the opportunities continue to expand.
Great. I'm signing up. Deborah, airport. Any benefits from opening a business at the airport? I mean, you've talked about sheer numbers and volume and access and friendliness, but are there other benefits if I open a business at the airport, or as a veteran, if I come to work there? Can I get a leg up? I mean, I know cities that offer points on their civil service exam for veterans or retirees ahead of the general population, but if I'm a veteran business owner or a veteran, what's the airport what's that environment going to do for me?
Well, thank you. I'll say as much as I can in the short time that we have, but if you want to know about benefits to owning a shop or restaurant at the airport, this guy owns half of them, so well, we could definitely tackle him before the end of the day. I'd like to call everybody's attention to a couple of pamphlets that are on the center of your table. There's this big blue one right in the middle and this smaller one here. And what these do is give you the very easy 1, 2, 3. Take a couple, give them to your friends and family. What they have in them are the simple instructions of how you can open a business at the airport. But I want to be really clear about something with regard to veterans or any other potential or existing business owner. Doing business with the airport isn't just about opening a shop or restaurant. Because, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Gonzalo, but every shop and restaurant at the airport needs supplies, needs services, needs stuff. So whether you make your own wood hand carvings or jewelry or pop your own popcorn that is in a specialty container, or you have a cleaning business that could wash the towels of the new spa, or you have really good taco sauce, those are all things that the suppliers are real people like Gonzalo here, the shop owners who need people who have these incredible creative ideas or innovative businesses. And for all the reasons that the 5 of us said before, who better than veterans to supply those types of things or to become one of our partners? And in these brochures here, it says exactly how in this little one. And in the blue brochure, it says, hey, come and we'll teach you ourselves in March, right here in this convention center.
Thank you. Gonzalo, I left the United States Army in 2012. 22% African American, 18% Hispanic, 8% Asian Pacific Islander, 18% women. A diverse workforce, a workforce with minorities well represented from private through four-star general. The Army was the first service to have a woman four-star general. How are you working with minorities? Because you represent 150,000. How is it beneficial for minority veterans to come to Arizona? And talk, if you will, about the role of mentorship.
Well, thank you. That was a big question. Great stats, so thank you for sharing that. I think it starts with a little bit of the mindset. So 4 years ago, we were inspired by a study that was conducted at Stanford that talked about the notion of collective impact. So collective impact is the concept of aggregating like-minded people and that the synergy would be greater than the sum of its individual parts. And so we went on a journey to bring together the Black Chamber, the Chinese Chamber, the Native American Chamber, the Minority Contractors Association, the NMSDC chapter, Checkered Flag Foundation, and other like-minded individuals that believed in D&I, diversity and inclusion, and started to share the values and the structure. But most importantly, we started to measure. And so we were inspired by a global best practice that was created. It's called the $1 Billion Roundtable. There's 22 companies in the world that have $1 billion to spend with women, minority, and veteran-owned businesses. And we did a baby brother, baby sister version of that here in Arizona. We call it the $1 Million Circle of Excellence. So these 10 ethnic, gender, economic development groups under this concept of collective impact, and we named it the $1 Million Circle of Excellence. And we put a call to action to corporate Arizona to show us your spend. And it was a trust exercise because people said, what, show us your spend? And we had to demonstrate that it was not a whack-a-mole exercise. We're not trying to hit people over the head. It was quite the opposite. We wanted to lift up those companies that were had great supplier diversity programs and were looking to balance the equation. What I mean by that is have their customer base reflect their supply chain. And so I already told you we're on path to become a minority-majority marketplace. And Sandra mentioned earlier that 46,000 veteran-owned businesses, well, that's of the 500,000, that's almost 10%. And so are veterans getting 10% of the contracts? I don't think so. But our opportunity today is we're working with corporate Arizona to build that like-mindedness around what gets measured gets done. And so after 4 years, just last Friday, we had 33 companies in the state of Arizona fully disclose their spend with diverse firms. When we started, we had 3 or 4 only disclosed. And so what's important about that is because now we're building relationships with chief procurement officers throughout the marketplace. And as you know, those are the ones that are doling out the contracts. And getting in those supply chains earlier to not only get direct contracts, but as Deborah was mentioning, tier 2 or tier 3 or unique teaming relationships. So our Minority Business Center has this mantra of collective impact, has been aggregating and working with the other 10 ethnic and gender economic development groups in town and trying to create a measurement tool to grow that spend over time. So hopefully that answered your question as an example of what we're trying to achieve.
No, great. And I'll tell you, in the 1990s, IBM did a study, and it was about diversity and inclusion. And what they're finding is if you are a diverse organization, racially diverse, geographically diverse, gender diverse, intellectually diverse, if you embrace diversity and you include those men and women in your organization and ask them what they think and how they can add to your organization, not putting someone on your team just as a token, but as a real included member of the team, you can outperform your competitors by 40%. As a soldier, as an infantryman, I will take a 40% advantage at the line of departure against the enemy every day. So diversion and inclusion, which Gonzalo was talking about, is so critical for businesses, and veterans are diverse. They're an aspect of diversity. But this is your panel. So we're going to freestyle for our last comments. what weren't you asked, or what do you really want to say as a leader here in Arizona to the audience as your closing comments? So please.
Thank you, General. So we have a number of programs designed to help businesses get started in our state. So if you're interested in starting a business, we have a number of programs. We help you navigate through the small business environment. We have specific dedicated programs. If you're looking at manufacturing, we can certainly help you in establishing a manufacturing operation. If you're looking at a small business, just a general small business firm, we've got services to help you there. If you're a business and you're looking to export to another country, we've got services there. So we have a whole host of programs, a suite of programs designed to help small businesses expand their operations. If you are not from Arizona and you have a business and you're interested in Arizona, please call us. We have programs designed to help companies who currently aren't in Arizona set up shop in Arizona. So we run the gamut across from new businesses coming in, existing businesses, and new startups. So if there's anything we can be doing at the Arizona Commerce Authority, we certainly want to make ourselves available to you. Thank you.
Well, I think I've said really everything I can say about tourism. It's, in my opinion, the best industry there is in this state and in this country. Don't be afraid of it. I know, we hear lots of things about it, but it's one of the best industries. I would encourage you all, with the passion that you have, to get involved. And more than anything, I just want to close by saying thank you for all that you do and all that you've done for our country.
General, thank you for moderating this panel. I want to thank all of our guests, particularly those from out of town, for being here today. I want to thank AP Powell again. This is something we want to keep in Arizona. We're, I believe, on a very good path, but there's always more to do. So our website is azchamber.com. Anything that we could do to make the policy environment or the environment more inviting to our veterans, we want to do. You've done the hard part by keeping our country safe. I want to do my part. Thank you for the chance to be here this afternoon.
Regarding the airport, there are so many opportunities, and we need veterans to fulfill those opportunities, whether it's the shops or restaurants or people working right in the airport. There's opportunities, and they're all on our website as well, the phoenix.gov that's in the brochure. But I can tell you right now, there's opportunities on the street, amazing jobs that we need great applicants for. And we're looking for people to do, I was just looking, what's on the street right now? We're looking for people for painting and engineering and food trucks and custodial and security, and the list goes on and on and on. And what makes the airport so great is the people. What makes Arizona great is the people that are here, and we need more of those great people right here in Arizona.
Great, a lot of excellent things have been said. I would just close by saying it's really the land of opportunity, right? We're, I think we're the 50th state in the country? 50th state? Oh, 49th, yeah. Oh, 48, yeah, that's what we have a great brand called State 48. So, certainly a growth market. I think a lot of the things have been said. It's a welcoming market, land of opportunity. We've got really an emerging diversity and inclusion mentality. I think we'd love to have you all be part of it. Let us know what we can do to be helpful. For our part, we open up our doors and our ideas and our mindset to help achieve some of those solutions. So thank you very much.
So how about a round of applause for the panel? Great job. I want to mention that the reserve forces of the United States, our reserve and our National Guard, are critical to the readiness of our country in national security. The men and women in Arizona in the National Guard respond to Governor Ducey first in state emergencies. And we need, Major General McGuire, our state adjutant general, needs a trained and ready force. And our reserve units across the state are required that in the time of a major mobilization to bolster the active duty forces that have already been in war for 16 years, along with our Guard and Reserve. So by you employing the Guard and Reserve and being a Guard and Reserve friendly business, you help our Reserve and National Guard leaders have a trained and ready force. There is some sacrifice on your part by giving them up 1 weekend a month and for 2 weeks in the summer. That's not without cost if they're key leaders to your business. But it's maintaining the readiness of our state's ability to respond to natural disaster and our nation's ability to respond to existential threats to the United States of America. So please consider encouraging your young veterans to be members of the Guard, to be members of the Reserve, and to keep us strong. I want to thank each and every one of you for your attendance this afternoon and being engaged in this conference. Again, to Wanda and AP Powell, thank you for your example and your sacrifice on behalf of our country. How many veterans, in fact, are in the audience? Terrific. Thank you for your sacrifice. Well done. Happy Veterans Day. Go get them and go Arizona. I will close simply as a West Point graduate by saying, beat Navy.